I was pretty upset by the internet's reaction and just the way people were talking about this Raptors fan base in general and the way that they were getting blasted on the internet for a few different reasons. But mainly, I really love this city. Like, I'm a very, very proud Torontonian. I know you are as well. And maybe we're guilty of doing this from time to time. But when you paint people with a wide brush and make assumptions about a place because of a bad moment at a sporting game for a few moments, it just feels like what you're doing is worse than what those fans did for a brief moment. So, one, I do think that Durant being in that game, Durant playing so well, the series, all of a sudden, the Warriors win a quarter, which is something that's pretty rare for them. He's knocking down all these shots. He's getting in Fred VanVleet's face. They just missed a foul, they just called a foul on Pascal Siakam where he dribbled the ball off of his leg. And then he turns the ball over and Serge Ibaka goes down the other way. That the crowd was very amped. And when they saw him down, they cheered the injury. And guess what? That is an ugly look. And the city, that's what you got to deal with today, Raptors fans. Like, I'm sorry, but the fans in the building, they celebrated it. The fans in Jurassic Park celebrated it. And so it's really difficult to try to separate yourself from that. That's a good enough sample size of Raptors fans to say how they dealt with it.
And nobody's making the opposite argument.
Nope. They celebrated it. It was an ugly look. Here's what I will say, though. There is no way in hell most people thought, that guy just snapped his Achilles. Oh, my God, his career is all completely irreparably be altered. They thought he probably re-aggravated the calf injury and that he was coming out of the game. And the idea that fans celebrating that for a moment and then realizing that he was really hurt and completely changing their tune.
Within a minute, they're chanting his name as he's exiting the court.
Chanting his name, acknowledging him as he left the court once they realized the severity of the injury. I thought that was a much more classy showing than the moment and the few fans that were waving Kevin Durant goodbye. Again, an ugly look. There's no way that I'm not going to say that it doesn't look bad optically when you wave a guy off. But if Kevin Durant is going to come back in game 6, we're not even really talking about this. Like, we're playing the results a little bit. And the idea that any other fan base in the NBA wouldn't have reacted in a similar fashion when Kevin Durant went down on the ground, it's asinine. It would have happened every single one. And I thought about this last night too, which I couldn't sleep. I so disgusted by so many different things. The reputation of the city, the Raptors losing that game, how badly I felt for Kevin Durant. It wasn't an easy sleep. But what do they say when a guy comes back from injury? Like, what's the strategy that a team is supposed to invoke?
You attack him.
You attack him. You go at him. You make him, quote unquote, test the injury. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that teams, like hockey teams, hide injuries and say it's a lower body injury, and they don't get specific with it. And the idea that the athletes were so mad, and Klay Thompson's like, oh, it's disgusting. So you wouldn't have gone at an injured player and tried to force him to move his legs and see how he would go.
Well, that seems like a separate argument.
No, I'm just saying that the idea that someone, a fan rejoicing for a split second about a guy being hurt and not knowing what that injury was, I don't think is
momentary.
I'm sorry. I don't think it's villainous behavior.
We've already spent more time than I guess we have to spend time on it because it's a big topic in the city. And it's crossed over from sports to news, right? Like, we got a news station on here, and it's like one of the lead items. Toronto fans rudely cheer Kevin Durant's injury last night. So, yeah, it's a big topic of conversation. But I think the conversation is really simple. It was a bad moment for like less than a minute, less than 60 seconds. It was a bad look. And you can tell me there were other places, like maybe in Jurassic Park or in real sports and in the moment. Yeah, some bad reactions in the moment. And you don't forgive those people for that. But there are mitigating circumstances. You're in a city that has a chance to win a Major 4 sports championship for the first time in 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. You see in that moment, I mean, who's not in that moment, even if your reaction was the proper one, like, oh my God, I'm feeling for Kevin Durant and his career.
I hope he's okay.
But who's not in that moment also thinking, oh my God, we just won the NBA title?
Or, oh my God, their chances of winning this have just gone up astronomically. So the guy who just went 3 of 3 from distance and is arguably the best player in the NBA is now out of the series.
So kudos to you. And I'd like to think I would be cool enough and logical enough to think that in the moment.
Everyone wants to have hindsight and have Drake's reaction.
Right. But if you didn't, okay, that's bad. And you have to put your hand up and be responsible for that. But let's also look at the next 60 seconds after the initial 60 seconds. And while you talk about painting a city with a wide brush when we come to the negative, let's also like maybe ease up on the painting of the entire city with the positive side of things. We do hold ourselves to a higher standard, but we're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And yeah, there's going to be some bad apples in the bunch. So let's try to get over it. Let's have a pretty
you're a bad apple if you cheered that injury.
Yeah, especially if you can look in hindsight and be like, whoops, yep, bad reaction by me. Kind of like me with my tweet about Kyle Lowry having a wide open shot to win the NBA title.
I want to see the receipts from all the different fans that were so upset about it that, played in a fantasy football league and never were going into a Monday night matchup and said, oh man, I need an injury from this guy, or made that joke. Mm-hmm. Or I'm sorry. It's just, you're not a monster if you cheered for that injury for a split second. It's a natural reaction in sports. And in fact, it's been going around the internet, but the Warriors fan base, when Kawhi Leonard was hurt by Zaza Pachulia, cheered when he was hurt.
No kidding.
They cheered when he was hurt. Yeah. They saw on the Jumbotron that he wasn't getting up, and they thought they all of a sudden yelled.
Yeah. They're trailing by 22 points at the time. Kawhi Leonard is single-handedly beating them down in game one, and they're staring down the possibility of losing the opening game of the series, and then all of a sudden he leaves, and they win the game.
I think that, yes, making a judgment about a city and about a fan base based on a emotional reaction to someone's injury, you look more like the ass.